I still remember the exact moment my heart dropped. I was sitting in my daughter's living room, smiling, holding a cup of tea, thinking that we were just a normal family having a normal conversation. And then, in the most casual voice imaginable, my daughter looked at me and said, "Oh, and Mom, just so you know, my stepfather will be speaking on your behalf at the christening." She said it like she was telling me the weather forecast, like it didn't mean a thing, like she wasn't telling me that I was being replaced in one of the most important moments of her child's life. I blinked a few times, genuinely thinking I had misheard. Was she serious? Was this a joke? Was I wrong for the way I reacted next? You tell me. Would you have handled it differently? From the outside, I guess we looked like a typical blended family, but living inside it was a different story. My daughter, Emma, was my first child, my only child for years, and for a long time it was just the two of us. I had her young, right out of high school, with a man I thought I would spend forever with. But life is not a fairy tale. He disappeared from our lives, no visits, no birthday cards, no child support, nothing. I worked multiple jobs, barely slept, and poured every remaining piece of energy into raising her. I wasn't perfect, but I was there. Every scraped knee, every parent-teacher conference, every sleepless night. I sat in the audience for every school play, even the ones where she had only one line. I was the one clapping the loudest. Years later, when Emma was around 10, I remarried. My second husband was, fine, I guess. We got along, we functioned as partners, and he treated Emma well enough. But they never bonded deeply. She tolerated him, respected him, but she never called him Dad, and frankly, he wasn't trying to take that place. We divorced after a few years, nothing explosive, just two people slowly drifting apart. Then, a couple of years later, I met the man I'm married to now, who I adore. But Emma never really saw him as a parental figure. She was older by then, already in high school, more independent, and already had her own life forming. Nothing wrong with that. I expected that. We had our relationship, and I was happy with it. Then, when Emma was in college, she met Daniel. He is the stepfather in this story. They fell in love fast. He was 10 years older than her, already established, confident, well-spoken, charismatic, and frankly, full of opinions. From the moment I met him, I could tell he liked being the center of attention. He wasn't rude, but he spoke in this way that made it hard for anyone else to get a word in. He had a story or an opinion, or an anecdote for everything. And slowly, over time, I noticed that Emma started echoing him. At first, I liked him well enough. He kept her happy, and that mattered to me. But I also noticed that he inserted himself into conversations that didn't include him, tried to correct me on things I literally lived through, like what Emma was like as a child. He would say things like, "Well, kids develop that behavior when," even though he wasn't around back then. But I bit my tongue. Emma seemed happy. I wasn't going to be that mother who ruins things by picking unnecessary battles. Then they got married. Small wedding, beautiful ceremony, and at the reception, Daniel gave a long speech that, while touching, mostly spoke about what he did for Emma, how he helped her, how he guided her. Okay, fine. Then he started making light jokes about how Emma's childhood habits must have been something. I was sitting there thinking, you didn't know her then. Why are you speaking like you raised her? But again, I swallowed it. One day. One speech. Not worth ruining the happiness. Over the next few years, Emma became more and more distant. Not cold, just less communicative. Calls became shorter. Holidays were rushed. If I gave advice, she would respond with something Daniel had said. It was like I was slowly being edited out of my own daughter's life, but again, I tried to tell myself I was overthinking. People grow up. People build new families. I wasn't entitled to be the center anymore. I accepted that. Then Emma got pregnant. When she told me, I cried. I was so happy. She was going to be a mother. And deep inside, I imagined myself being there for her the way I had always been. Helping with the baby, being someone she leaned on, being someone she introduced proudly as her mother. I had dreams of holding my grandchild and feeling that full circle moment. I even started knitting a blanket the same day. But slowly, leading up to the birth, I noticed subtle things. I wasn't invited to the pregnancy announcement photo shoot. They said it was last minute. I wasn't asked for baby name suggestions. When I suggested a family name, she told me Daniel thought it sounded outdated. I offered to host a baby shower. She declined, saying Daniel's family had already planned one. I told myself not to take it personally. Then came the day I will never forget. We were sitting in her living room about a month before the christening. Her baby girl, my granddaughter, was asleep in her bassinet. I was sipping tea, smiling, feeling grateful just to be included in the planning. Emma said, "So, at the christening, we're having a portion where someone close to the family says a few words representing the parents." I nodded, expecting her to ask me. Instead, she said, "So Daniel will be speaking for me and for you." I stared at her. "For me?" I said. "Why would he speak for me?" She said, in the most matter-of-fact tone, "Because he's better with words. He knows how to speak publicly. We want it to be polished, you know. And he's the father figure here. It just makes sense." I felt like someone had slapped me. Father figure. For her. For me? For the family I built alone. She wasn't just excluding me from speaking. She was removing my role entirely. I tried to remain calm. I said, "Emma, why can't I speak for myself?" She shrugged. And said, "Mom, I just think Daniel will represent the family better. It's not personal." Not personal. My hands were shaking. I said, "So at your daughter's christening, I'm just, what? A background extra." She sighed and said, "Mom, please don't make this dramatic. Daniel is just better at these things. I mean, be honest, you get nervous speaking in front of people. We want the ceremony to be smooth." What I wanted to say was, I stood up for you in front of judges and landlords and teachers and doctors and your biological father who abandoned you. I spoke when you couldn't. And you think I can't speak at a christening. But I kept it inside. Daniel sat there silently, smirking a little, as if he had already won. I wanted to throw my tea in his smug face. Instead, I said, "If he speaks for me, I won't be going." Emma looked genuinely shocked, like she couldn't understand why that would upset me. She said, "Mom, don't be dramatic. Everyone will be there. My in-laws, friends, people from church. We want it to look classy." That word. Classy. Translation: we don't want you ruining the aesthetic. So that's the situation I was in. Imagine raising a child alone, fighting through every struggle, staying up every night helping them become who they are, only for them to replace you at their own child's christening with someone who wasn't even in the picture until college. So before I tell you what I did next, I want you to really think about it. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Because at that moment, I had to make a choice. Should I swallow my pride and be the quiet, respectful mother in the background? Or stand up for my role in my own family? Well, I made my choice. I stood up, calmly placed my teacup down, and said, "Emma, I love you. And I love your daughter. But if I am not allowed to be her grandmother publicly, I will not be there privately either." She looked stunned. Daniel raised an eyebrow. She said, "Mom, are you seriously threatening me?" I said, "No. I'm setting a boundary. I am your mother. I earned that. I deserve basic respect." She said, "Mom, this is really embarrassing." I replied, "Yes, it is. For you." And then I left. I cried the whole drive home. I felt like someone had torn out a piece of me. I couldn't believe I had just walked away from the christening of my only grandchild. But I also couldn't believe that after everything I had done in life, I was expected to sit silently while someone else spoke for me like I was irrelevant. Over the next few days, Emma didn't call. Daniel didn't call. Nobody did. Finally, 3 days later, I got a message. Not a phone call. A message. Mom, the christening is this Sunday at 11. If you decide to apologize and come, we will have a seat saved. Apologize. Apologize for not accepting being erased. I did not respond. Sunday came. I sat at home and cried again. Not because I regretted standing up for myself, but because I never imagined my own child would treat me this way. Later, pictures began circulating online, beautiful photos of the ceremony. Daniel standing at the pedestal, giving a speech. Pictures of Emma smiling, surrounded by his family. Not a single picture of me because I wasn't there and clearly wasn't missed. 2 days later, Emma finally called. She was angry. Mom, everyone was asking where you were. I had to explain that you chose not to come. I said, and did you explain why? She said, Mom, I shouldn't have to defend myself for wanting things to look well organized. I said, no, Emma. You should have defended your mother when someone tried to replace her. She went silent. Then she said something I will never forget. Daniel thinks you're too emotional, and that you make things about yourself. That's when I realized, this wasn't just Emma's thinking. Daniel had been influencing her perception of me for years. I said, Emma, someday your daughter will grow up. And one day she may forget what you did for her and listen more to someone else. When that day comes, I hope it hurts less than this does. We didn't speak for nearly a month after that. Then it happened. One evening, I got a call. Emma was crying. She said she had gone to lunch with Daniel's mother. During the meal, the woman told Emma she should be grateful Daniel is taking the lead with the baby since Emma was still inexperienced. Then she joked that maybe next time the baby could take Daniel's surname legally, since he's really the true parent in terms of responsibility. Emma told me she sat there frozen, feeling the same sting I had felt. She told me that in that moment she finally understood. She realized what it felt like to be sidelined from your own family role. She apologized, truly apologized, through tears. She said, Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't see it. I told her I loved her. I told her I always had. And I told her that the door was open, but trust would take time to mend. And slowly, it did. I am part of my granddaughter's life now. I hold her, rock her, smell her baby hair, and thank God for second chances. But I also speak now. I don't let myself be erased. And Emma listens. Because she knows now what it feels like. Looking back, I learned something important. Family isn't just about love. It's also about respect. And the moment you allow someone to silence your voice in your own story, you begin to disappear. I refuse to disappear. If you were on my side, like this video. If you've ever had to stand up for your place in your family, subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, was I really wrong for not attending the christening? I'll see you all in the next story.